Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are going to talk about the Matador Red Mica, also in other markets called Vermillion, some other names, but it's the 3R1 paint code. And so this is the red or maroon color that you may see on these cars. It's produced on a couple other Lexus models, not specific to the GSF. So these are just as rare as the 2019 anniversary models, about the same number made. However, these were made over 5 years instead of just one for the anniversary. So that gets into the color of this car. If you've never seen Matador Red Mica in person, I would highly recommend finding a car that's painted that color, because it's something you really have to see to appreciate in person. Much like a lot of the colors on these cars, when you see them in pictures, you're just like, oh, it's white, oh, it's silver. Well, if you get up close, there's a mica or a metallic flake in it. But what makes the Matador Red Mica even more special is that not only does it have a flake in it, but it's also a tinted clear coat. So it kind of adds to the depth of the paint that you see. So it's really cool if you see one in person. I'm definitely a fan. Just there's so few of them that come up for sale, which is, it's kind of odd, because you see orange ones, I think they get more attention because when they pop up for sale, everybody shares them. Oh my gosh, did you see the, one of the super rare ones? Well, the Matador Red Mica, those are ones that you don't see very many for sale. So when they do come up for sale, you have to pay close attention. And unfortunately, at least in the last year or so, a lot of the ones that have come up for sale have been ones that have had stories or it's paintwork. And what the problem with this Matador Red Mica is that paintwork is very, very obvious, because it's an extremely hard color to match very well. So if you see ones that come up for sale, you may see the door, maybe there was something that hit the side of the door and they had to repaint the door. They had to blend it. Well, when you blend it in, it's completely different shade, even though their machine said, this is the right color match, everything. It's one of those things that you have to have a really good painter, a really good body shop to match it well. Otherwise, it's going to be very obvious. And so, the molten pearl color, it's another one like that. And you've seen me talk about it a little before, but like the plastic surfaces versus the metal. So you can see the color difference right here. This is a lot lighter than here, and that's plastic, that's metal, but this car's never had any paint work. It's just, it fades that way. And Toyota, a lot of their other cars, those of you familiar with the JZA 80 Supras in red, their bumpers start to turn pink or lighter color, things like that. As with other videos that I talk about the colors of these cars, I'm going to talk about the US 49 state production. And so what that is the US minus Hawaii. Hawaiian market was grouped in with sort of Puerto Rico, Guam, the Marshall Islands. It was a little bit different, had a little bit different options, so I don't group it with the rest of the US. And North America, North America includes Canada. It's a little bit different. So this is, the focus of this has always been US 49 states. So with that out of the way, I'm gonna get my notes out here. Over the 5-year production run, there were only 106 of these cars that were made. And that's about 4.5% of the total production that was in this color, so pretty rare. Worldwide, there's 156, but that also includes pre-production cars, which I believe there were 7. So that's about 3.2% of the worldwide production in this color. So it becomes even rarer. 3.2% of the 4,823 that I've identified, including some pre-production cars, but I don't have all of them. That's why I like to say about 4,800 cars, because I don't have an exact number, and of course Lexus doesn't provide that. So let's break down just the North America production now. 106 for the US 49, 1 for Canada. That's it, just 1 car in Matador Red Mica was in Canada. None in Hawaii, none for Puerto Rico, none for Guam, and then there were 7 pre-production cars, so that makes a total of 107. That's it. We have 1 in Canada, 106 in the US, and that's all you're gonna see. So let's dive into that. And of the 106 cars, 17 had Stratus Gray. That's that white or light gray interior. 89 had black, and none had red interior. In the US, you couldn't get the red interior. However, in Japan and some other markets, you could get Matador Red with a red or a red and black interior. Kind of odd that they chose to do that. Maybe just nobody ordered it that way. I'm not sure. Could have just not even been offered. I'm not sure. So breaking down the production even further, in 2016, there were 73 cars. Of those 73, 16 were Stratus Gray and 57 were black interior. For 2017, there were 13 cars, 1 with Stratus Gray and 12 with black interior. So that means that a 2017 Matador Red with Stratus Gray, that is a one-of-one car for 2017. 2018, there were 8, and this is, at this point, they had eliminated Stratus Gray, so your only choice was black on this car. So 2018, there were 8 that had black interior, 2019 had 5, and 2020 had 7. So the lowest production year for these cars for Matador Red Mica is 2019, of which there are 5. All right, so we know how many were made. So how many are still left? Here we are almost 10 years on from first production, first deliveries of some of these cars. So out of those 106, there's 91 left that still have a clean title. May or may not have accidents, but it's a clean title. So you're talking about 85% of these cars still have a clean title in Matador Red Mica, which is great to see. The remaining 15 or so, that's your branded titles, your salvage title, flood, fire, etc. So as far as owners and accidents, 2 to 3 owners on these cars is pretty normal. And some of the other colors I've looked at, 3 or 4 kind of seems to be the standard. So I guess that tells me that the people that bought these cars, they didn't change hands as often. And you talk about the highest owner, there's one with 5 owners, which that's pretty low. There's some of these cars have 11 owners right now, so that's pretty mind-boggling. But as far as what's left, there's 21 right now at the end of February 2025, 21 of these cars that still have 1 owner. And so that's, what is that, 20, not quite 20% of these cars still are with their original owners 10 years on. That's really good to see. As far as mileage goes, looks like there may be 1 or 2 that are stored away, but it's one of those where it was dealer prepped. There's no service history, no registration, no title, but like it was registered. And there's a couple of those like that. So moving past those, the next lowest mileage car with a clean title is in Ohio with about 5,600 miles, and it's still with its original owner. So it's a 1 owner, no accident car, 5,600 miles as of about the end of 2023. That's the last data on the Carfax on it. So highest mileage. So unfortunately, one of the highest mileage GSFs that exists, there's one that has a little over 250,000 miles. That's a white one. We'll get into that later. The highest mileage car there, it had almost 210,000 miles. I think it's 207, 208,000. It was a 1 owner car. Previously, I believe, had an accident on the Carfax. However, it was totaled, and it was in California, and it was sold at Copart at the end of 2024. I'll show you the pictures here on your screen while I'm talking about it. And that it's kind of sad to see that. You know, it's somebody that really enjoyed that car and drove it for extended distances. So they spent a lot of time in that car. That's really good to see, but it's also kind of sad how that ended. There's a pretty big gap between that car and the next lowest miles. And the next lowest mile one is 125,000 miles here in Texas. And there are about 10 of these Matador Red Mica cars that have just about or around 100,000 miles. So again, great to see that they're being used, being driven, being enjoyed. So that leaves what is left for the clean title, no accidents, no stories type of cars. How many are left? There's only 64 of them out of the 106, which is 61%. So that's a little bit above the average that I'm seeing with other colors. The other colors I'm seeing traditionally around 52 to 55% of these cars that are clean title, no accident cars. So you have a better chance of finding one of these clean title, no stories cars in Matador Red Mica. That is if you can find one. You know, you're 1 in 106, and you're talking about there's less than 100. Well, where's my notes? That basically says that your chances of finding a Matador Red Mica that has a clean title, no accidents, is much greater than with some of the other colors that were offered in these cars. No reason other than the fact that they were Matador Red Mica. It's not, you know, specific to some color, but maybe people see red cars better. I don't know. But that is if they come up for sale. You know, there's 91 of them that are left for the taking. That's it. So that's when we talk about the values of these cars, that's something that there's been so few sales of the Matador Red Mica with clean title, no stories, no accidents. There was a Lexus driving school car that was for sale last year that, I mean, people were asking me constantly about this car. What's the deal? Why has this car been for sale for 4 or 5 months? Well, it was a driving school car. After it was a driving school car, the next owner heavily modified it and then tried to return it back to stock. So you can see like where some of the ground effects were. It still had a exhaust that was welded on instead of a bolt on. you know, it had a bunch of stories to it, and it also had some accidents on it. So it was a bad example to use as a high watermark or a current market rate, market price for where these cars are. And so that brings me to, I don't have a good idea on the value of the Matador Red Mica other than to group it in with just the general GSF sales as far as groups. So I don't think Matador Red Mica would command a premium, but it may because of the rarity. I don't have the data that proves that. So if I don't, I'm just gonna say possibly. So yeah. Anyway, so that's all I have today on the Matador Red Mica. Have you guys ever seen one in person? Do you own one? I know that you guys that own one can really appreciate the color when it's polished and cleaned up, and I mean, it looks fantastic in the sun. But just let me know your opinions in the comments. What do you think? So again, thanks for watching, guys. Thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed, hit the bell icon, and we'll see you soon.